Well, hello, friends. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you asking me to chair the meeting tonight. And I am 1,513 days sober today. So that is 4 years, 1 month, and some days, like somewhere in there. I don't know. But um, I am actually, I've been arrested 4 times. And my first arrest in 2001 was for drunk driving. You know, looking back at my first drunk driving, uh, it wasn't my fault. My first drunk driving, I was underage, 20 years old, went to a bar with some friends, a girl I was seeing at the time. It was her birthday. She was 21, I was 20. And everything was fine. Got in the bar, used a fake ID, and we left the bar like it was about bar time. And there was a guy in the parking lot that I knew. He asked for a ride home. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. I can drive drunk. No worries. Didn't even think anything of it. But he's out in the parking lot yelling at his girlfriend, wife, whatever it was, and there's a cop over in the corner. And I didn't have a care in the world. And he finally gets in the car, and then the cop follows us immediately. And driving down the road, I'm like, well, I wonder if he's going to pull me over. Well, eventually he did. And, I got an OWI, and I still never thought it was my fault. It was because the other guy was yelling in the parking lot. Um, Fast forward 4 months later, I got my second OWI. I went to a coworker's house on a January night. It was cold here in Wisconsin. Just went drinking at her apartment, and you know, I drank too much and drove home. I was driving home, and then I got word of another party. So then I started driving to another party, and I passed out behind the wheel, flipped my car, and what was it? Like, I flipped my car, and well, I got a drunk driving, but I was wearing my seatbelt, but it was a pretty serious accident. And, you know, that was kind of a wake up call, but not really. So my lawyer told me to just go to an AA meeting, get a chip, and bring it to court. I'm like, okay. Well, my lawyer gets up in front of the judge and the DA and says, Matthew is serious about his sobriety. Look at this. He even went on his own to an AA meeting, and he's committed to his recovery. I'm like, wow, this guy's good. Like, he just fed him a whole line of bullshit, and he ended up getting me off. So, like, I had two OWIs within 4 months and fed the judge a line of bullshit. And I ended up getting Huber for like 25 days. So, Huber is a go to jail work release program. So, I got to leave jail and go to work. I got off pretty easy. I had probation for a little bit as well, and I lost my license for I think it was 18 months. So I drove without a license, just got a different car, continued to go to work every day, and you know, I kept finding ways to get around the system. never like admitting that I did anything wrong, you know? So I get through all of that, and you know, I kind of recognized that I had maybe I had a little problem, but you know, my friends reassured me that I did not have a problem. Like bad things happen, you're okay. So that was 2002, my last OWI. We will fast forward to 2014. So I'm living on a lake here in Wisconsin, and it's a January day, cold day, and there's a fishery. I got a bunch of friends going out fishing, and there's a bunch of moonshine and booze out on the lake. And, you know, so I go out there and I get shit faced. Okay. And I end up coming home and taking a shower and a nap. And then I end up going out to the bars right after that to get some more. I end up getting blackout drunk, and I head out a cook um, at this bar, and I was just drunk and belligerent and blackout drunk, and I wake up in jail, and I should say I woke up in a hospital with my hands handcuffed to the hospital bed, and I'm like, I come to, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? And the thoughts that go through your head, that went through my head, were, did I kill somebody? Did I drive and kill somebody? Like, what happened? I had no idea what happened. And they wouldn't tell me. They took my blood and everything. And I'm just like coming to. So it was pretty scary. But then the morning comes, I get let out of jail. So I'm like, okay, it couldn't have been that bad. They let me go. And then, you know, I start talking to some people, and they're like, yeah, you got really messed up last night. And they told me I headbutted a cook, and, you know, just real belligerent in a bar. And you know, when I heard that, I was thinking, whoa, whew, you know, I didn't kill anybody. You know, I saw the positives, you know, but at the same time, I had to deal with this now. So I actually I did not get a lawyer this time around, and I just winged it with a judge. So then I I'm with the judge, and somehow I only got probation for 1 year, you know, and for that 1 year, I stayed clean and sober. But it was interesting. What I learned in that 1 year is all of my friends disappeared. Like, I didn't get invited to parties or anything. Like, it was just weird. Like, I every once in a while I would get a phone call to come pick someone up and drive them home, but other than that, my phone never rang anymore. And you know, I was the life of the party. Like, I would host a lot of parties at my house, and people would come here and hang out, and I provided a safe environment for people to do their drugs and drink. And once I didn't drink, they disappeared. So I followed all the rules from my probation. And my it was kind of interesting. My probation officer, Vince, at the time, he said, Matt, you're going to be back. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, how can he tell me I'm going to be back? You know, I quit drinking, and I even lost weight, and I was really impressed with myself. I'm like, I'm going to be back. You know, like, I finally got this under control. I got a year clean sober, whatever. I kind of brushed it under the rug and moved on. So I get discharged from probation. I come home and my roommate walk into the kitchen. He's standing there. You did it! Congratulations! 1 year sober, and he's got two shots poured right there. And I just kind of I stood there and I thought I just got 1 year sober, and I just looked at him for a second, and then I went and grabbed the shot, picked it up, toasted him, and drank it. And I knew right when I did that, I got my friends back. I got everything that I had before. It's life is back on, party on, let's live it up again. You know, it was back. Let's go. So that was in 2015. So I'm back to playing softball, bowling, and dodgeball, playing all the drinking sports with my friends and hosting UFC parties and, bowling nights and, everything is back on. Bags tournaments, drinking, smoking, random drugs here and there. Life was awesome. Um, 2020 comes, the lockdown happens, and I'm going to work every day, and um, my roommate is still here. Um, he's like he's partying during the day, like he doesn't have a job. He's getting paid to stay home all the time, and people come to my house and party while I'm at work, and then I get off work and I'm ready to party with them, and they're all partied out and they leave. So like I come home, get off work, and they're done. And I'm like by myself. So I drink by myself, whatever. And all of a sudden, the night the lockdown ends, it is May 13th, and I am just dying for community. So it's like 6, 7 p.m. here. I had been drinking, and I'm like on Facebook, and I see the lockdown's up. Like the bars are open in town here. I'm like, fuck yeah, game on, let's go. So I get in my car, drive down. Oh, it's only like 2 miles, not even mile and a half down to the bars. And I go out and just get shit faced. I already had a buzz before I left. Um, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I decide it's time to go home. I got to work in the morning, and it's raining outside. And, I hop in my car and I'm driving, and I drive past this cop, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm shit faced, but um, I never knew he turned around. And I get to a stop sign, and I just stop, and then I go, and then all of a sudden I see the blueberries and cherries in the rear view, and I'm like, well, that's probably not for me. So I pull over, and the cop pulls behind me, and I'm like, hmm, that's not good. And then he comes to the window, whatever, and gives me a breathalyzer. I fail, and long story short, I get arrested. And later on, I learned he pulled me over because when he drove past me, he said I was stiff as a statue when he drove past me, and he knew something was up. And I'm just thinking, is that reason for someone to get pulled over? Is that what was that? Like I was stuck on that for a little while, but you know, at the end of the day, I woke up in jail that next morning and I was done. Like, this is my third OWI, my fourth arrest, and I'm just done dealing with all of this shit. I was 37 years old at the time and facing a third DUI, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy this time around. The first two I got off pretty easy. This one I was going to have to probably sit some time. So I was all the thoughts that went through my head, like, why me? Or even like, would I be able to keep my home? I'm for sure gonna lose all my friends. That's probably gonna happen. But just everything. I just was worried I was gonna lose my house, my car. I didn't know what was gonna happen. Would I get my license back? Would I ever drive again? I don't know. Would I have to move to like New York and use the subway every day? I don't know. But a lot of unknowns. And then, but the most important thing that happened was I became open minded. Like I was open to do whatever it took to get my life back. And that meant quitting drinking and drugging, all of the drugs, alcohol, and even cigarettes. Cigarettes was really hard for me to quit, but I was just done. And that mindset of being fucking done with all this bullshit, I was willing to do whatever it took. So my lawyer, I hired a lawyer for this one, and I'm glad I did. He got me into a program called Alcohol Treatment Court. And in this program, it's a taxpayer funded program. It accepts 40 people in it per a set amount of time. But what it meant was I would have random drug testing, random breathalyzers. I would have to be in front of a judge periodically. I would have a caseworker. I would have a probation officer. Like I had to wear an ankle monitor. I had travel restrictions, and I had to go to meetings twice a week. I had all these things I had to do. I had all these hoops I had to go through. I had to get the education. Threw they sent me up to Health and Human Services twice a week as well to go through classes, and they just threw all of this knowledge at me of alcohol and drugging, and I was just bombarded with information and community of people who were in the system with me, and I actually really enjoyed it because my friends weren't around anymore, and you know all of a sudden I had these people to like talk about all the shit going on in my life, and we shared all the shit that we're dealing with. But so anyway, I got accepted in this program, and so it gave me 5 days of county lockup, and then it transferred me over to 15 days of Huber for the work release program. And then I got to go to house arrest, which was fucking awesome. um and then uh I lost my license for 45 days. I got my occupational license after that. So I had to drive within a window of certain hours. But for 27 months, I had a breathalyzer in my car and had to do the alcohol treatment court for 1 year. And I passed everything flying colors. And it was really cool just to watch all the people in this program. You know, I'm lucky that I decided that I was done drinking. And it was interesting to watch other people come to that realization that they were done. And you could see it in other people when they weren't ready. And in this program, people come up with excuses and reasons why they failed drug tests, and at the end of the day, it's because you weren't committed to your recovery. And if you were, you were going to do whatever it took to not use. So, um, I know easier said than done sometimes, but man, it was awesome to be in that program. So that, let's see, I finished that program in 2021, and then I got my license reinstated. But like when I quit drinking, I was in pretty bad shape, you know. I had a lot of inflammation. I had three different ACL surgeries, and I would drink a lot and then I would eat a lot, you know, like you get all fucked up and then you come home and eat pizzas and cheeseburgers, hamburgers, you know, and just going from that life to not drinking anymore, quit cigarettes and just quitting all of it. And now I'm like focusing on my health. And I got involved in a company called doTERRA where they teach about health and wellness with using essential oils. But you know, I really started looking at my health then, and you know, just going from not using alcohol and cigarettes and drugs, you feel pretty good. But then I just started learning different things about health and wellness and like cancer and all these different autoimmune diseases. And, you know, I got really interested in some fellow named Joe Dispenza and how the mind works and using the left and right side of the brain and just learning all these new things. You know, I got really attracted to, you know, once you took all of the shit from alcohol and drugs away, it was like I became lonely, and I was like really starting to find what I wanted to do with myself. What would it look like to become a new person? Like what would my future look like? And for me, it was really invigorating for me to see that I had a chance to get an entire new future. And I went from being in rooms with drugs and alcohol of just shit in my life to now I'm like in rooms with some incredible leaders like Joe Dispenza and uh, Tiff Peterson and just all these incredible leaders. And I just am incredibly grateful for everything I gave up to now have passion and joy in my life and seeing where just different interests. I have different interests now that just leveled up my life. And, you know, I would get off work before and do drinking and drugging with friends. And now when I get off work, I'm like in Zoom rooms with you guys and a bunch of people who don't do drugs. And I became a youth group leader at my church. And I'm just, I love being in environments where alcohol is not involved. So, like, I don't even go to bars. I don't go to places where alcohol is served. I just stay away from those places. That has worked really well for my sobriety. And I know some people go to those places for community, but I just don't like it. It almost still triggers me at 4 years. I'm trying not to be triggered, but also when I get triggered, I try to sit in it and feel it and grow from it, you know? But yeah, so now oh, I just don't like being in those environments, you know? Um, I think that's all I have. That's all I got.
Can I ask you one question before we stop recording?
Absolutely, you can.
So I'm just kind of curious, and you don't have to go into detail, but I'm just kind of curious, like what like your childhood looked like how would you describe it? And like maybe when the first like encounter with drugs or alcohol you had, like around what age and what that looked like for you.
So my childhood, I had a good childhood. My my mother struggled with mental health issues, and it definitely started there. Um, but when I first used alcohol, I think I was about 17, and I loved it. I freaking loved alcohol. So I kind of bounced around group to group in high school, and it's kind of a loner. But once I found alcohol in community, it was like, these are my people. Like people who use alcohol were my kind of people. And it allowed me to really let loose, and they accepted me for who I was. And I loved getting just wild and crazy with people. And I think they did too, and it just kind of grew from there. Um, and then it grew into like ecstasy and raving and cocaine and late night cocaine runs. Oh man. Oh yeah.
Okay. I do have one more thing because I like to end on a positive note. So is there anything like I don't know, like one piece of wisdom we like to not poke fun. Let me not say that on the recording. We just we really like cliches around here, and we always like to know like what the favorite is, or like just something like a quote, or just some type of like a few words of encouragement to anyone that significantly stuck out to you in the last 4 years.
So I've done a lot of different um speakers and stuff, but like one of my favorite quotes is, what you will allow will continue. Another favorite is, change is inevitable, growth is optional. Um, rule your mind or it will rule you. So there's a few. Um, yeah. Um, I'm trying to continue to have a growth mindset. And I heard Ed Milet once said he's continually trying to chase the best version of him down. And when he dies someday, he's going to grab the best version of himself and say, hey, man, I finally got you. Just, you know, learning about growth. I never had a growth mindset, personal growth in my using days. And today I definitely think about it a lot. So I don't know, just, yeah.